gender-affirming care, including those procedures which assist a person in transitioning from their biological sex to the gender of their choice. The end result of which is intentionally sterilization. This is why they're offering hysterectomies and castrations to school-aged children at a Boston Children's Hospital.
A switchboard may be a conduit, but if that conduit only takes in propaganda and spits out propaganda, it's a bad conduit. So to be able to do my video, I had to cut out a lot of that video. But within it, we already have anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, transphobia, and just downright disinformation. The general idea of it is he believes that gender-affirming care is just an attempt at population control. The anti-Semitism comes into it with the population control conspiracy theory. The population control conspiracy theory is based off the New World Order conspiracy theory, which the New World Order conspiracy theory is based off a book called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It's an anti-Semitic book published in Russia in the early 1900s stating that Jewish people are attempting to take over the world and control it behind the scenes. More on that is talked about within my conspiracy theories playlist. But let's go into the transphobic propaganda and the disinformation now. First, sterilization is not a requirement for gender-affirming care. Transgender people determine the types of gender-affirming care that is appropriate for them. For some transgender people, that may mean surgery. For some, it may not. And when it comes to gender-affirming surgeries, there's a wide range of surgeries. A transgender person may receive a surgery like a hysterectomy. They may not. But this idea that a transgender person must sterilize themselves to be transgender is just propaganda and transphobia. It pushes this mentality that if a transgender person doesn't do X, Y, and Z, then they're not really transgender. This causes transgender people to face attacks and harassments because people who don't understand what transgender actually is feel they don't fit into this neat little box and that they're just faking it. But there's real dangers when you're pushing this disinformation that children are receiving things like castration and hysterectomies. The right has been on this idea for a while that if you go after the idea of transgender children, you can go after the existence of transgender adults. We see this with the recent push to not only ban gender-affirming care for children, but to use that to push the ban on gender-affirming care for adults. But where did this idea that the Boston Children's Hospital is doing hysterectomies and castrations on children come from? From everyone's favorite conspiracy theory and right-wing propaganda source, Libs of TikTok on Twitter. Libs of TikTok shared a 33-second video from a doctor from the Boston Children's Hospital talking about hysterectomies and claimed that this was evidence they were doing it against children. Nowhere in that video does she talk about doing hysterectomies or castrations on children. And apparently people forget that pediatric facilities usually allow patients to stay into their 20s. But the Boston Children's Hospital does allow patients to receive gender-affirming surgeries. But from their own website, they only do gender-affirming surgery on genitals for patients 18 and older. 18 and older meaning adults. Now, they do chest surgery for people who are at least 15 years old. But the same people who are going to complain about that haven't said a word about rich cis people allowing their teenagers to get plastic surgery for years now. So yeah, a conduit that only spits out disinformation and propaganda is a bad conduit.